Yeah, be so excited to see Cade Cunningham step on the court here.
Cade up the right side, goes past Rollins and lays it up and in.
Good to let him get his rhythm back.
Asar with a swipe. Asar lobs to Cade. Dynamite dunk by Cade. Cade to four courts. Put it down. Taken away. Cormac Ryan. The trend into the corner. And Cade hustles to block that shot. Wow. And the crowd salutes him. Pistons win big. Cade came back at a double-double.
A happy sight for Pistons fans everywhere. Hello, good morning. Welcome to First Take alongside David Dennis Jr., Vince Goodwill. I'm Courtney Cronin with you here on a Thursday. Jason McCourty, Kevin Clark going to join us in just a little bit. Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Good morning, good morning.
Got a Around the Horn reunion here. I'm very excited about this, but there is no other place to start this show today than with the NBA and Cade Cunningham's returns. The words Detroit fans have been waiting to hear. The motorcade is back in Motown. Cade Cunningham returned to the lineup Wednesday night for the first time in 3 weeks due to a collapsed lung. He finished with 13 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds in 26 minutes of action in the Pistons' 137-111 win over the Milwaukee Bucks. And 137 points. Those points scored by Detroit marks the 8th time this season that the Pistons have scored 135 or more, which breaks a tie with the 1960-61 team for the most in team history. So let's focus now on Cade Cunningham and his return, what this means for a team, Vince, that's already locked up the 1 seed in the East. How does this impact what their playoff future looks like?
Well, when Cade first went down, a lot of people were saying, okay, now Detroit's done. And we don't know what Cade is going to look like. I was under the impression that Cade's debut was going to be a return, was going to be game 1 of the Eastern Conference playoffs. I was concerned that he wasn't going to get real-life action and get hit before then. These next 3 games will serve as a warm-up for that, and then he's going to get a week off to recover and practice. I think Detroit is better positioned now. Not to say that they're going to get to the finals, but I think they're better positioned now than they were before Cade went down. They were so Cade dependent. When you have a superstar, and then that's the one superstar on your team that can create shots, you tend to ease up a little bit. Asar Thompson told me that as much in Philadelphia over the weekend when they clinched. And now that guys have had to step up, Danish Jenkins has stepped in. Asar Thompson has played more of a leading role. Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren has turned into a primary scorer. You have guys that are now unafraid to take primary scoring positions and not be so dependent on Cade Cunningham to score and to eat. His usage was so high because he was so reliant and responsible for everything. Now you're looking at this team. They've reclaimed their defense. Their three-point shooting over the last 20 games, David Dennis, 38%, which means you're getting quality shots, you're hitting it. This was one of the worst three-point shooting teams, especially amongst the contenders that you'd had up in the first 60 or so games. If this is sustainable, I can see this team getting to the conference finals regardless of how the playoff matchups situate.
Yeah, this is one of those rare instances where your best player goes out and it actually ends up being better for the team in the long run for some of these reasons that you mentioned. Look at what was happening in Detroit right before Cade went out. Some of these teams were figuring out this Detroit offense. They were doubling Cade and making him get rid of the ball, and the Pistons offense was falling apart. They were coming into that injury with multiple games in which they had lower than 90 points offensive rating in the half court, which is disastrous for a team that's trying to go make a playoff run. But what happened since then? As you mentioned, Danish Jenkins looks like a real deal backup point guard, and I'm interested actually to see what it would look like with him at the point. And maybe Cade playing a little bit off the ball, so it gets the ball out of his hands a little bit, and they move the offense around him. Then Duren. This dude is putting up 22 and 10 at about 75% shooting. This guy is a real, legitimate all-NBA player, and he's doing it in the half court. He's doing it with real sets where Cade Cunningham can actually ease himself into the playoffs without having to take on that huge of a load. Now, the Detroit Pistons, their ceiling is higher after their best player goes out than it was when he was originally injured.
So they went 8-3 without him, and he only missed 11 games, which, can we just drill down on that? Collapsed lung. Yeah. I remember sitting here with Shams on March 17th or March 18th, like right after it happened, and we thought he was going to be out indefinitely. Like you mentioned, we thought he'd be back for the playoffs. And this is breathing we're talking about, trying to get your conditioning back. He makes his way back. But the team in his absence, Vince, was able to withstand all of that and still maintain the 1 seed. What did you learn about the Pistons without Cade Cunningham and how that factors into how you view them as a playoff threat?
I wasn't sure that they could reclaim their superpower from early on in the season. Every great team has a superpower that they can call on. Detroit's superpower is a little bit different. Theirs is, we can make you play less than your best. When you come to Detroit, you're not going to reach your A game. And that's what they did when they played again. Look, they went into Oklahoma City, and they lost that game in OKC in overtime, and you're without your best player, without your second best player. Remember, Isaiah Stewart, who was out for the playoffs last year, he's back. That's one of the best interior defenders in basketball. Ausar Thompson is going to be an all-NBA defense first-team guy. When you have great perimeter defense, great rim protection, and then just enough shot creation, that's the formula for real playoff success. So what I learned about them over the 11 games was they can hit the high note, except their high note is on defense. You just don't think of it in today's NBA because today's NBA is so offensive driven that a team that strikes fear into you on the defensive end, that's their calling card. Usually they can't score at all. The Pistons have a guy that can get you 40 in the playoff series, and their ornery is all hell. Like, they are pissed off about last year's playoff series against the Knicks. So whether they get to the Knicks or not, the Knicks find their way to them, I think they're going to be well positioned to get to the conference finals. And then you just let the chips fall from that point.
Yeah, I learned that we were disrespecting this team, quite frankly. It was all Cade. And Cade, yes, is the best player. He's not just the heart. He's not the heart and soul of that team. Sure. The heart and soul of that team is everybody collectively playing well. And that OKC game is a perfect example. They should have won that game. They just didn't have enough talent. They were up, I think, 9 points with a couple minutes left. Still got that thing into overtime. The game that impressed me the most was whooping up on Philadelphia to clinch that playoff spot, to clinch that #1 seed, which everybody was saying, hey, you do not want to play Philadelphia in the playoffs because if they're healthy, they can beat anybody. Detroit said, oh, word, we're going to go out there and we're going to whoop y'all and we're going to beat y'all by 25 or whatever points that they did because they have the type of players to make everybody want to play, make their game tougher. They can be defensively just nasty with anybody. And Cade Cunningham, yes, is the finisher, but for those first 45 minutes of that game, Detroit is going to beat you up with everybody else they got.
J.B. Bickerstaff, he's got to get a lot of love here. There's a lot of great coaches. Sure. There's about 7 or 8 coaches who can qualify for Coach of the Year, the ballots are going to be really interesting. But I think J.B. Bickerstaff should be hands down Coach of the Year this season with the job that he's done.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham reached 1,500 points this season through 3 quarters on Wednesday. And we know, obviously, we'll get into more on the 65-game rule and what the the postseason awards and all that and what that means for him. If there is going to be a way for him to potentially get himself eligible for that. But a very welcome sight for the Pistons, getting their guy back with 2 games remaining now in the regular season. Elsewhere in the